So hi guys, welcome to MMA UK, the BJJ show. So my name's Stoomboy, as always. So today I'm joined by a very special guest, Alain Pozo, of the
Pleasure.
ZR team. So Alain's, I'm very excited to have Alain on. So and obviously talk about his journey, talk a bit about the ZR team, and just hear about his vision, hear about his journey and things like that. So Alain, as I said, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on. How are you today, sir?
Pleasure is mine. Yeah, good. Good. Despite the news, good man. Always good.
Definitely. So obviously it takes us into the news. As we heard, obviously the England unfortunately are going into, I believe, a tier 4 lockdown for I believe it's about 4 weeks, I think they said.
Yeah, that's what they said. It's okay.
So in regards to you, I mean, obviously the lockdown, I mean, obviously everything that's going on, current affairs, I mean, how has it affected obviously yourself and obviously your business? Because at the end of the day, it's obviously your business as well. So
We're actually going to open a new business now because we're moving a group of people who've been in a church hall with us for the last 3.5 years in Chelmsford, and everybody's going to move into a brand new gym called Reef Academy.
Yeah.
So by the time the mats, everything arrive there, that's probably when the lockdown is due to end, you know?
Yeah.
Personally, my personal life outside of the business life and everything like that, my life is on as normal. I see everyone. I never use the gel. I wear masks still, and I tell everyone why I wear masks. And it's not because the government tells me to wear masks, but like there's a lot of people that are stressed already and in the underground, and I take a lot of public transport, and they're a bit upset and stressed. I just don't want to bring any stress for anyone and attention for myself. Like people like telling me, hey, wear a mask. I don't want that. So
Yeah.
I wear a mask for 10-15 minutes. My life has not changed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Other than that, my life is normal. I'm not gonna do any lockdown personally. The gyms will be closed, everything. But me personally, I'm not doing lockdown.
Yeah. So just keeping everything as normal as possible for yourself then.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
I
Definitely.
haven't been ill, by the way, the entire year.
Mhm.
And I've been flying. I've been training a lot abroad as well. I've been in Poland. I trained in Hungary. I got planes. I went to the Basque Country. I did my share bit of things, and the entire year I didn't even had nothing. Not even. Only was a food poisoning. That's all I had from eating in the
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. Definitely. And then you mentioned obviously about you're opening a new gym. So there's going to be a new gym. I saw obviously some pictures online where I saw you outside, obviously showing everybody the pictures. So I mean, what you mentioned that's going to be opening. You're hoping that's going to be opening what in about 4 weeks' time?
Yeah. By the time the mat's ordered now, so takes about 5 weeks. So hopefully, yeah, December we're opening.
Yeah.
And if not,
Definitely.
we'll wait a little bit longer, and that's it. But yeah, it's happening. And yeah, I mean, some are gonna suffer more than others, but we just gotta do it, man. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
And the more I stressed already a bit, in the beginning, I was a bit stressed when the first lockdown,
Mhm.
but now really I don't care.
Yeah. It's been going on for a while. I mean, it has. It's been going on
Yeah.
for some time now. And obviously we don't see any end to it. I mean, it's not like we can say, well, in 4 weeks everything's going to be back to normal, because I'd say that
No,
for me personally, I don't see any end to this at all until
no,
potentially a vaccine or something like that comes along. So
maybe.
um,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, obviously, I'm not a doctor. I don't work in a hospital or anything like that. But my surroundings of the people all around me,
Mhm.
and that's like a not like compared to a lot of people is obviously a small network, but compared to the guy that is just, the guy that doesn't leave the house too much, it's quite a big network. We know
Yeah.
people in Germany, in Brazil, in the US, so with all of that group of people that we know of that has that jiu-jitsu community, I don't know, no one got really ill, like seriously ill.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And then for you, then obviously your jiu-jitsu journey. So, in regards to yourself, then how did it all begin for you?
Yeah, I was I was like thinking, like there was like twice that my jiu-jitsu started. Like I started jiu-jitsu twice. One was in Brazil, obviously was there in 1997,
Mhm.
and the other one was in the UK when I first came in London in 2000,
Yeah.
2001, when jiu-jitsu was very it's infant right here.
Mhm.
And I these are when I actually started jiu-jitsu. Actually, the guy that I'm not sure if, but I think one of the guys that was that started jiu-jitsu in Scotland was from Rio Grappling Club, Roberto Atala. I don't know if you heard of him.
Yep. Yep. Roberto Atala. Yeah.
Yeah, he was my coach for a little bit here in
Mhm.
London.
Mhm.
In 2002, maybe three. So yeah, I remember seeing a lot of Scottish guys coming down to London to train. And this is so I had like I restarted again here in 2000, but in Brazil was a completely different era. They had a completely different mentality then. Everything was more like wasn't politically correct like now. Like um it was a mess. It was very amateur how everything started. It
Mhm.
had that there wasn't like today. Like today is fantastic. You do go to a tournament. I see my students, they compete, and then they shake hands of their opponents, say, hey man, just good match. Like when back in the 90s, 97, man, you walk into the the competitions, you stare at everybody, all the rivals, and it's like it's trying just very amateur.
Yeah.
But it's how things were, like you hated them, and
Yeah.
in the gym you were encouraged to hate the rival gyms as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
You
completely
do.
different.
Yeah, I mean, you do see that in videos. I mean, anybody that watches videos of competitions back in Brazil in the 90s, and when they went onto the mats, they were ready to kill each other.
Yeah.
So obviously now it's obviously a little bit more. Well, it's a little bit more where you go on, and as you said, you shake the hands, give each other a hug, and things like that.
Yeah, it's
But yeah,
professional. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. But some of the videos are great. I mean, watching videos from Brazil back in the day, and just seeing them. Yeah, I mean, as you said, they hated each other as soon as they stepped on the mat. They were ready
Yeah.
to go. So it was a proper fight back in the day. So uh,
Yeah, I still think that today the level today is 100 times better.
mhm, mhm,
Even the now, I would say the level now in 2001
mhm.
compared to England 2001 is ridiculous. Like, let's say I bring Tommy Yeet, which is one of my black belts here,
Yeah,
in
yeah,
a time machine, and I bring him down to 2001. I don't think nobody would be even able to understand what he was doing. Like, so the level is much much better. Well, I think the main difference of now and today is like there was actually zero money, pretty much.
mhm,
So everything was done with the heart. You would teach classes for free. Not that I was teaching at the time, but some people would teach free classes just off the heart,
yeah,
because no one would pay anyway.
mhm,
Um, uh, there were the people that we idolized from those days, like Hickson Gracie. They were more of a like a star, if you know what I mean. They would really speak really well. They would convince you. They were very eloquent in their speech.
mhm,
Like kind of like spiritual stuff and the water and the surfing and all that stuff that they bring along. And I think that when I see the guys today, which are much better technically, I think that's my opinion. And I saw the other day an interview of a kid called Michael Musimechi, and I was like, how anyone is going to listen to this guy? He's talking like a teenager, like a
yeah,
14, 15-year-old. So I think that I tell my students today is like, don't just be like a jiu-jitsu in the gym all day, like a jiu-jitsu rat. Try
yeah,
to inform yourself a little bit. Do some reading, man. Like get involved with the news, get involved with, talk with, have interesting people around you as well. So you can, because in the future, when you give interviews or you speak to someone, you're not just babbling and just saying nonsense, because this is
yeah,
the only thing that I think is the big difference from now and then. We had real idols then, and now it's just like fighters.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
my opinion.
definitely. And then obviously so you mentioned you come over to the UK. Obviously, you started your journey with Z back in obviously Brazil, and then obviously coming over to the UK. So when you came over to UK, as you mentioned, jiu-jitsu was still in its infancy. So it'd only really been going a few years at that point. So so what was the big differences for you? What was the big differences from coming from Brazil to then coming to the UK?
Yeah, because in Brazil this is the thing. We had in Brazil, they had this romantic era of vale tudo, right?
Mm-hmm.
That jiu-jitsu will challenge other martial arts like luta libre and
Yeah.
all that, and it was like real tough guys, man. You know, like they went in bare knuckle and they fought all of that. And there was a Carson Gracie generation in Brazil that went through these. It was amazing, and I was not part of it. I
Mm-hmm.
just read it on
Yeah.
magazines. You know, we were in the northeast of Brazil. We were away from all of this, but I followed everything during that time. I used to get VCR, put it in, and watch like fighters like Amari Bittetti have 3 fights in one night, bare knuckle.
Yeah.
Incredible, you know. And but that era was, but then jiu-jitsu solidified itself as a very strong martial art already. The UFC was already happening,
Mm-hmm.
so everybody was already starting to fight MMA now with the gloves. So when I came to the UK, we didn't have that romantic era anymore. Do you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
Everything jiu-jitsu was already a strong martial art. It shown we already had the videos of the Gracie in actions, all the DVDs and all that all the information. Kind of the information was there. And what happened is a lot of the guys now today, the so-called old school English guys or British guys, they try to kind of exaggerate how things were in 2001, kind of
Mm-hmm.
like what happened in Brazil, that
Yeah.
they did, you know, kind of like really tough guys, and they had to defend the honor of jiu-jitsu when you didn't need to here in the UK, you know. So I
Yeah.
know a lot of the guys that are my age and they were from that area, blue belts at the same time as me.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of see them now, and I'm like, it's, I was there, you know. It was very, compared to Brazil, it was very amateur here.
Mm-hmm.
It just arrived, which was great. I think the gyms were starting, the teams were kind of like having a little bit of rivalry, which is important in the sport, but it's
Yeah.
nothing like we would still see our opponents and shake hands and stuff, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So it evolved already when it came to the UK.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. And then for you, when you came over, so you were a blue belt when you came over to the UK, I believe, or did you get
Yeah,
your blue
yeah,
belt?
yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, it
you
was
were.
a blue belt. Zach gave me a blue belt. I got a blue belt after 6 months, man, training. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know why. I really
Yeah.
don't know why.
Yeah.
I think I was showing a technique to another guy.
Mm-hmm.
I was demonstrating a technique to a blue belt. Whatever. I was just showing something.
Mm-hmm.
This is my memory. And then my instructor came and said, "Oh, blue belt for you," and that was it.
Yeah.
Like no lineup, nothing. Just
Yeah.
tied it up, and I was like, "Oh, that's fantastic," you know. But it was after 6 months, and then I left Brazil because, you know, man. I mean, again, I never came from favela or anything like that, but it was hard, you know.
Mm-hmm.
The 90s in Brazil, the economy started to collapse, and um, the situation in my family, you know, my mother passed away and things like this, so it was just very difficult. I had no degree
Mm-hmm.
as well, so I had to leave, you know. So I
Yeah.
left, just left Brazil, and I have dual nationality, you know, so that's why a lot of people get confused with my name. I
Mm-hmm.
am Brazilian from my mother's side, and from my father's side, I'm French, you know.
Yeah.
So I, I
Yeah.
I had this dual nationality, which allowed me to come to Europe at
Mm-hmm.
any, you know. So I came first to Spain.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first country I came to. You know, I left. So from that moment that I left Brazil, I kind of stopped jiu-jitsu. I trained some sports here and there,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but until I came to the UK, then I think jiu-jitsu was already starting to, at 2000, in 2000 was already to start to kick off, you know.
Yeah. And then obviously you did start jiu-jitsu late. So what were you what kind of sports were you into, or what were you into before jiu-jitsu came into your life?
Man, I'm still am. I'm a huge football fan, you know.
Hmm.
I have a now for the first time I support another team that is not my team from Brazil. I support Colchester United. You know.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I went to the stadium and I thank everybody that had me go to the stadium and everything. So I played a lot of football, but obviously I played a lot like 5-5.
Hmm.
Never played like 11.
Yeah.
Since I'm a kid, I played a lot of football, and then I did a little bit of uh, capoeira, just a little bit, maybe 6 months or less,
Yeah.
and weights. We did a lot of weights, and because of the era where I grew up, not being tough or anything like that, but there was a lot of street fights, and it was kind of like not as looked like it is now.
Yeah.
And it wasn't defending the honor or anything like this. It was just happened, like you're in school and then a fight breaks up and then you go home and it's okay. No one
Hmm.
really is gonna. You're not gonna get that grounded in
Hmm.
the '80s in Brazil because I was even in the '80s, and it would you just or you're in the beach and someone says something wrong and you just have a few, punch ups and that was it. So
Yeah.
that happened in my life because
Hmm.
of the era and the culture and the mentality, which is
Yeah.
completely different today. Yeah.
Definitely, definitely. And then we do have a question here from Joe Barton. So, who would you say is the best at jits? So, I think he's probably talking about now, just now. So, who would you say is the best at jiu-jitsu at the moment?
I have to say that the guys that I follow and I see them all the time are my students. I stopped watching almost every MMA or friends, like people that are close to me because
Mhm,
it's too much. We got too many students and too many people around us.
mhm,
So I have to say that within the environment that I'm in, I gotta say that I think Taylor Pearman,
mhm,
his,
mhm.
I think in the UK he is top top one, two, or three.
Yeah.
Like black belt adult.
Mhm,
There is Yanis Rietskins,
mhm.
who's also accomplished a lot. Second in the world in California, European champion,
Yeah.
etc. Like multiple British world pro. And just had a super fight as well in Germany. Won.
Mhm.
So I would say these two guys at the moment that on top of my head are the number one guys. And I think I really like the guy from Gracie Baja, Oliver Lavelle.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's one of the top out there up there.
Mhm.
That's yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. That's the one thing. I mean, as I said, I've been kind of following, especially the ZR team from the day that it was obviously set up. So obviously, I've been able to see you guys grow. I've been able to see when I've been to the Europeans a couple of times. Obviously, seeing the ZR team competing at the Europeans, and um, when I was there, I mean, the support for you guys was phenomenal. I mean, Z came
Mm.
over. Obviously, Z was there when you had obviously yourself in the corners, and you had Max Carvalho in corners, and I mean, just seeing your guys grow. And I see you're now obviously one of the kind of, or certainly pushing for one of the top teams in the world at the moment. So was that something that for you? Is that something that certainly in regards to ZR's vision? Is that something that you guys are pushing
In
for?
the worlds, I don't know how everything is going to be at the end of this pandemic, but in the worlds right now, I don't think we're still in the top because we're not very big in America. Our
Mhm.
team is small in the US.
Yeah.
In Europe, it's. I mean, obviously, it's just. I'm speaking about numbers. In Europe, we are, I think, top three, top four.
Yeah.
I'm speaking about numbers, not me just saying on top of my head, like, because I really don't like when people just say, "Yeah, we're the best," and
Mhm.
well, based on what,
Yeah.
And I'm not saying we're the best, but in terms of academies and numbers, we we have to be at least top five in Europe. I think
Yeah.
so because just Max Carvalho alone, he has like 300 affiliates. All the
Yeah.
way to a viable stock in Russia.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, and the competition results in Europeans, World Pros. Like we've been in the podium, London Open, which London Open is a big tournament,
Hmm.
in
Hmm.
Europe.
Yeah.
And so in Europe, yeah, I would say that we're making some noise. In the northeast of Brazil, where we originally are from, it is the number one, where their hometown is.
Yeah.
That is the number one team there, 100%.
Hmm.
Based on
Hmm.
results and numbers and things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, and what happened is when you go to the Europeans, you can see that vibe, right? Like the everybody around screaming, and to us is a job, you know. It's like for the coaches is a job.
Yeah.
I expect everyone to be, and Zed expects everyone to be there from 9 till close.
Yes. Yes.
The white belt is there as important as the black belt day, you know.
Mhm.
So we are there for everyone from day one for the whole week,
Yeah.
and it's a job.
Yeah.
It's you know, click, clock in and clock out.
Definitely. But you do see that. I mean, as to the Euros, when you walk in, you see the green patch, the ZR patch everywhere you
Yeah.
go. When you go to restaurants, you go for something to eat after competition days. You see ZR team all over the place in different restaurants and just kind of hanging about with each other. So it's fantastic to see. I mean, as I said, I had the chance. Obviously, I managed to get speaking to Zeradio a few years ago. We tried to
Yeah.
arrange a seminar in Glasgow when he was
Yeah.
at GB. Unfortunately, seminar didn't arise, but fantastic person, very approachable as well. I mean, you go to competitions, and if you see him
Yeah.
there, he's very approachable, as well as yourself and as well as Max and things like that. You can always come up and say hello and kind of introduce yourself and things like that.
Yeah, I think as we the obviously a lot of people in the team as well, but we see ourselves as very as coaches, just
Yeah.
simple as that. There is no I don't obviously the word professor, if somebody calls me professor, I'm not going to be offended, but they don't need to call me professor. I'm not a professor. I
Mhm,
haven't finished school really.
mhm,
So
mhm,
but I know that the word professor translate different when you say Portuguese, which means teacher.
mhm,
And
mhm,
when it came to the UK, kind of like, but some people maintain that master is something I really hope no one calls me a master because that's silly, right?
yeah,
So we don't have a cult figure in our
mhm,
gym. You know, like some places or some martial arts. Like I don't know. I remember seeing a karate gym in
mhm,
Colchester once
mhm,
back in the day, which the coach was like a godlike figure.
mhm.
You know, like when you walk in there and everybody like, oh my God, here he is. Oh, you know, you got to watch out what you're gonna say in front of him and things like that. You know,
Yeah.
and with us, it's like I am exactly like the volleyball coach that you meet in school.
Mhm, mhm.
There's just no difference between me and that person. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lie about any of my achievements, or I'm not gonna exaggerate who I am. I'm
Mhm,
not gonna, make a like boast about anything like that, or make me like a figure like like untouchable or something like this. So we see ourselves as what we are really. It's just because jiu-jitsu has that still that mystique of martial art, so
yeah.
some guys still have this super like master or aura or whatever it is. And the reality is when we write profession, I write sports coach
Mhm, mhm.
because that's what I make my living off. I don't write master.
Yeah.
you know like when you do an application, you don't write your profession
Yeah.
master.
Yeah.
It's like silly, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that I think that's one of the reasons why it's approachable, like you're saying, like everyone should be approachable,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
I was Mike Tyson, I probably wouldn't be approachable because I am Mike Tyson, right? I
Mhm.
understand that Mike Tyson is, which I do think he's approachable, but you know what
Mhm.
I'm saying, right? Or
Yeah.
Conor McGregor, because he's in a different like level. But why you get the train, you put your backpack on, why you're not approachable, man? Like.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
that's our view.
Definitely. I mean, that's something I did when I left GB because obviously Gracie Baja was big in regards to professors and things like that. So, and I remember when I left GB and went to train with Marcos Nardini for
Yeah,
maybe the first few months, I was calling him Professor. Just as because that's the way, obviously, when coming through GB, that's the way I was taught respect and things like that. And Marcos always used to say to me, "Look, Stuart, stop calling me Professor. Just call me Marcos. Or if you do want to call me something, coach or something like that. But
yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
don't call me professor. So and you find that a lot in a lot of gyms you go to where the black belt's there, and it could be the same. I'm not a professor. Exactly what you've just said. I'm not a professor. I'm a coach. So
Yeah,
um,
that's yeah, because
definitely.
that's the everyday job that you're looking for. You teach the kids, you teach the teenagers, you teach the adults, the masters, everybody. So you spend the day like just pretty much teaching people, and you try
Yeah.
to make a good environment as well, in the gym. like everybody having fun, bantering, you know, like not having like a toxic environment. Because I've been through other gyms in my life in the past, which I learned the good things about them and also the bad things about them.
Yeah.
And you know, like sometimes that environment can be a bit heavy, you know,
Mhm.
and toxic because someone is extremely vain
Yeah.
and wants the attention for themselves, and because there's jealousy and stuff like. But if you just have common sense, man, and
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
just work and you understand. Also, the other thing is, Stuart, I understand exactly where I can go back to.
Yeah.
I know who I am, but
Mhm.
also the most important thing is you have to understand where you can go back to, because I have no much education, like in terms of like academic. So if I lose jiu-jitsu, what's left for me is pretty much maybe a hotel reception,
Mhm.
or you know, maybe a chef in a, like assistant chef in a restaurant, or a waiter or something like that. I don't know. It has to be
Yeah.
like a really like you know, like not a good job, you know, like
Mhm.
9 hours a day of me walking around and standing and serving and
Yeah.
taking
Yeah.
tips from people. So that's what's left. So this is what you have to remind yourself. Okay, you know, like if I fuck up, you know, if I start not coming to classes, or you know, whatever I do, not only who you are, but who you can go, what you can go back to, you know.
Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. And then another question coming in there from Jiu Jitsu News. What's your favorite submission?
Man, throughout the years it changes. You know,
Mhm.
I would say now it's choking.
Yeah.
I think I'm really starting to get the really now, after all these years, like really trying to get that hang of it now.
Mhm.
You know, like I get the majority of the sparrings now. I get a choke. Used to be
Mhm.
footlocks before,
Yeah.
but I think now is choke my favorite submission.
Nice. Nice. And then another one. Would you say Khabib is the best jiu-jitsu white belt in the world?
No, he's not allowed actually to. He's a professional MMA fighter. He wouldn't be allowed to compete in the white belt division, you know. And
Yeah.
yeah, that guy is. Look, I think not only that I'm gonna say about Khabib, but I am so glad that it's him now in the spotlight.
Mhm.
As
Mhm.
much as I really like, I have Irish brothers.
Mhm.
I always say that Irish is not really just a nationality; it's like a way of life. You know, I
Mhm.
feel Irish sometimes when I'm in Ireland. You know, even though
Yeah.
I have nothing. You know, I love that country. I love the people there, man. I have best friends in best friends in Ireland. Baz, Barry Myers. Hope if you're there, man, you're one of my best friends. Everybody like Reedy. You know, we got a in Northern Ireland. I adore that place. You know.
Mhm.
However, Conor McGregor started in the really good, in my opinion, started really well. But at the end, I didn't want that guy to be the example for my students. That's
Yeah.
my without trying to offend any
Mhm.
Irish brothers, you know. I just didn't like the fact that the way when I was in a competition, right, and I
Mhm.
saw kids doing that walk inside the mats. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's not how you walk in a martial art
Yeah.
gym. Or you know, you go to a low level MMA fight and you see some like you know guy with a Primark suit doing the weigh-ins, like
Yeah.
you know. So I'm glad that the track suits are back now. You
Mhm.
know, the guys are staring at each other and but not having to say your uncle cheated on his wife.
Mhm. Mhm.
You know, like what?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I'm yeah, this kind of like so having this guy to me in the spotlight to me is just fantastic now,
Yeah.
instead of you know the guys that were before him.
Yeah. No, definitely. And then um, Peter Knox. So Peter Knox, MMA UK. So how young should children be when they start training?
Peter, I think 4 years old, mate. I think I even taught a class with a 3 year old. I think as long as their brain can start like functioning,
Mhm.
maybe by three, if they already have like some kids like take longer, right?
Yeah.
Three,
Yeah.
4, 5. I would say babies like really tiny is just impossible. But what you can do to them, even when they're a baby or like they can start crawling, you can just put him in the gym. If they have like a big brother, you can just leave it in the gym so they can just get used to that, like you
Yeah.
know the gym area, you know.
Yeah.
So, but for a class, we have class from 5 to 7,
Mhm.
like the kids class. So I think in our gym is 5 years old are the youngest, but I think by 4 as well.
Yeah. Yeah. definitely. And then Tony McCann, what's your go-to setup for a footlock in the gi? So how would you set it up?
Okay, Tony, this is a really good question. Back in the day, it depends the era again, right?
Mm-hmm.
The 90s was just grabbing a foot, falling backwards, and and cranking the foot.
Yeah.
And everything started like developing more, like single leg guard was really good. Even like 2000s, 2006, a lot of like setup with the single legs. But then when my mind got blown when I first got caught in a honey hole by a friend of mine, and
Mm-hmm.
that was before the saddle or honey hole got really cool.
Yeah.
And it was when I've actually fought in Polaris.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't really well known, that technique. A friend of mine caught me, and I was like, Jesus, what is this, man? And he caught me over and over again. I'm like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned, and I started catching people like that. So
Yeah.
I have to say now, even for the straight foot lock, the saddle, to me, is my favorite leg lock setup.
Nice, nice. And then obviously it takes us on to your competition experience then. So you do have a good bit of competition experience. So I had a look on the internet. So saw you obviously European champion being the highlight. So when did you first start competing then? So did you start competing in Brazil, or did you wait until you got to the UK
No,
to
no, in
start?
Brazil. In
Mhm.
Brazil, yeah. In Brazil. Brazil was in 1997. I did my first competition as a white belt. I did it in the school. It was in a school that was rented as a venue.
Mhm.
One of the guys that were a judo black belt, he used to organize tournaments there.
Mhm.
And I went there with Braulio Estima as well and a few other guys.
Yeah.
And when I walked in there, every single person of my teammates won, everybody except me.
Mhm.
That my
Mhm.
first competition.
Yeah.
And I felt devastated because I've seen everybody winning.
Mhm.
And inside me was that kind of pressure. And in a way, I was hoping someone would lose as well,
Yeah.
because if I lost, then I would be like with someone else.
Yeah.
But luckily and unluckily for me, I learned a valuable lesson that day. Like all my students, all my friends were winning, and my teammates winning, 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 and I'm like, okay. So when I walked into the mats, I was so nervous
Mhm.
that I saw a tunnel closing in front of me, and
Yeah.
when I kind of like got my sense together or woke up from that tunnel, maybe I was already tapping,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
I made things even worse than that. I tried to fight my opponent on the mats after that, like a real fight, to make
Right.
it even to make it even more embarrassing, worse than you can imagine. And people are like, come on, man, you lost already, and for no reason, like a
Yeah.
Brazilian young.
Yeah.
And then so that was my first experience. So when Zach came to me and said, Alan, do you want to compete again? I said, yeah, of course, because it's not going to be as bad as it was on my first comp. But the reality, Stuart, is I was never really talented actually, I have to say more. I wasn't really never talented in anything.
Mhm.
Not
Mhm.
just jiu-jitsu, but in football as well. Like I'm very hard worker. I'm very
Mhm.
dedicated in what I do. I have a lot of like dedication. I have a lot of belief in myself, but in terms of talent, never. I see my students doing a show when they compete, a
Yeah.
show, and I was never like that showman guy. I
Mhm.
used to win by 2 points, kind of stally a bit. I do have a lot of experience though, because I've been, you know, I competed in gi, no gi, MMA, jiu-jitsu. I did judo tournaments, one wrestling tournament in the UK back in 2002 and 3 with the London Shoot Fighters guys.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have experience, but in terms of me being a fantastic competitor, someone that everybody would stop to watch me compete, that never happened.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you obviously been in the UK, so you managed to go through your belts, and then I think it was at 2013 you got your black belt.
Yeah,
Yeah. How was
2013. Yeah,
how was
yeah, but
that feeling?
that was after many, 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 many years, many
Yeah.
years. So I started in 1997. I kept training. Then I had to stop for a little bit because I was away. There
Mhm.
wasn't jiu-jitsu like there is today. Then I came to the UK. I started training again, and then I went to train in Carson Gracie.
Mhm.
And but it wasn't Carson Gracie the name. It was a gym called it was Freestyle or something like this. It was run by an Italian guy called Luca, and there was an instructor, brown belt guy from Brazil called Wilson. And there was never a real link with Carson Gracie, the old man in Brazil,
Yeah.
between and no one. And that is not like a black belt from Carson Gracie. Like usually happens. For example, if you go to Holland, there is a guy called Marcos Flecha. That guy was graded by Carson, and he walked in the gym, and he was already a Carson Gracie black belt and something like that. It was the link was made after with Carson, So I never really had that history or that link with the gym. Also because I'm not from Rio, where that gym was, And uh, I during that time in the UK, because jiu-jitsu was very difficult, I had to make a move back to the US. I had to go to the US because I thought that's where I'll improve. I could be training more jiu-jitsu. I could be making a better living for myself. That's what I thought at the time. It was a big mistake. So in 2005 or 6, something like that, I left to the US for 3 years. And man, I should have never done that. It was a mistake. But I carried on training no-gi. There was a no-gi, only no-gi, and I trained an American top team a little bit. I trained a lot of no-gi. I had a real eye-opener in what MMA was and the MMA training was. When I was there, I was like, that was in early, 2006, I think, 7. And walking into American top team was like, wow, like I never seen anything like that, and all the fighters and everybody there. And it was already big in the MMA scene at the time, So yeah, in terms of these things was worth it. But then I came quickly back to the UK, which I knew I was making a mistake. Yeah, and when I came back to the UK, jiu-jitsu had changed completely now. Now it was starting to take off. I think in 2007, 2008, jiu-jitsu started to take off in the UK.
Definitely. And then that's one thing, obviously talking about MMA. So Amy Lee Kavanagh, which MMA fighter do you believe has the best ground game?
Well, one is really hard to say one, right? I have to say Khabib, obviously.
Yeah.
That's the weekend now. You're right. Like everybody sharing on their Facebook and stuff like that. You don't see that. Damian Maia, even though I haven't watched one of his fights for a while, but you have to put him in the top list. Claudio Silva from ZR Team as well. I have to put him. He's an extremely good black belt. His last fight was a brawl, but he had a lot of trouble in his training, and because of the whole thing happening now in the world, so it was difficult his training. So he didn't have that explosion to go to the ground. His opponent really good, noticed that and kept the fight and stand up for 3 rounds. But if he shows the ground, his ground is elite. Also being European adult champion as well in the past. Big thing. So I would, that at the top of my head right now, I'd say these 3 guys.
Yeah, definitely. Damian Maia, I remember I did a no-gi seminar with Damian Maia last year. And yeah, I mean, they did it for an MMA kind of scenario. So because obviously it was the Scottish hit squad where Paul Craig, Chris Bungard and so on train out of. So, but he came out and he was showing obviously some moves and how to go from standing all the way right through to the submission, and just the breakdown of everything as he was going through it was absolutely phenomenal. Some seminars, some seminars you go to, they'll show you the move and then they'll move on to another one and then another one, but they don't explain every single step to it. Whereas Damian Maia broke it down completely and you understood exactly what he was going to do. So fantastic ground game, definitely.
And simple techniques as well,
Yeah. So he kept everything simple. There was no fancy jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. It was just basic principles and how to go from standing right through to the submission. So, and we were there for about, I think, just over 2 hours, and there was about 8 different steps. So there was 8 different things he showed you to go from the stand up right through to it was a rear naked choke. So and it was beautiful. I mean, beautiful to watch. Something I used in my training, obviously when I went back to Marcus Nardini. But yeah, I mean, absolutely fantastic jiu-jitsu knowledge from Damian Maia. So and then one of your students, Katie, Hi, Alain. I miss you guys so much.
Well, Katie, how are you? Miss you too. Don't miss us too much. You can come. Text me.
Definitely, definitely. And then so Alan, so we were talking about you've obviously went through. You were at the Carlson Gracie or the Carlson Gracie affiliate,
Yeah.
and then so you've went through your belt. So purple belt, when did that come for you?
Purple belt, I got it with a guy from Uruguay who was here at the time,
Mhm,
called Nelson Solari.
mhm.
He was the head coach in Carson Gracie, London at the time.
Yeah.
It was in Royal Oak.
Mhm.
This gym ran by this Italian guy. Those were funny days, man.
Yeah.
Those days were, I gotta say, and that was in 2004, if I'm not mistaken, or five. Listen, man, I'm not an expert in dates,
Mhm, mhm.
so around that time, let's put it around that time,
Yeah. Yeah.
and this guy, he competed at the first Worlds ever representing Uruguay, which is a
Mhm,
country in the south of Brazil. He was a guy who was in the UK, uh, working in 3 different jobs,
mhm.
plus teaching jiu-jitsu,
Yeah.
living in homeless conditions, making his own bread, finding the clothes in the streets. He
Mhm.
go to Brixton Market, and all the leftovers in the market he will pick up,
Yeah.
put it at home on whatever free place he was crashing, clean it and eat it.
Mhm.
And he did that for 3.5, 4 years or something like this.
Yeah.
And we don't know how much money he saved, but
Mhm.
he saved a lot of money and then left to Brazil.
Yeah.
So this guy Nelson, he was the guy that gave me the purple belt.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Wilson Jr., who was the instructor, he is still the head instructor in Carson Gracie. He gave
Mhm.
me the brown belt and the black belt.
Yeah.
And
Now,
then Zach gave me back my degrees, the first and second degrees as well in my belt, coming linking back everything in
yeah.
a circle.
Yeah. So obviously, in regards to your black belt, I mean, I'd say 2013. So you got it. So obviously, thinking back to then. So how did it feel for you? Because obviously, it'd been a number of years in between going from obviously white belt from when you started up to getting your black belt. So how was the emotions? How did it feel for you?
It was, to be fair, it was kind of like a relief thing for me,
Hmm.
because in a way, um, speaking about achievements, I was competing regularly. I had I was a coach already in the
Hmm.
gym. I was having students. I was having not just I had students winning already. I had one affiliate already at brown belt. I
Hmm.
was doing super fights. Um, Everything that you can imagine that someone can do, I was trying to do, and not to get a black belt, but I was doing because that's what I wanted to make a living off. That's something that I thought, okay, so I can actually live off jiu-jitsu. I think I found something that I can be good at, and make my living. And when I got the black belt, then I kind of felt like relief, like, okay, like I can now take off even more, and that's what happened. When I
Yeah.
got my black belt, I took off. Obviously, I didn't leave. uh, the reason I happened with Zehadiola was when he left Gracie Baja. I feel like I had to get back with Zeh.
Yeah.
I felt like this would be the right thing to do, because this is the guy that taught me jiu-jitsu first. This is the guy that I maintained contact throughout the whole time. And I knew, but being Gracie Baja, it would have made my life very difficult if
Hmm.
I became, nothing against Gracie Baja. I've had great friends there.
Yeah.
Actually, one of my favorite fighters in the UK is from Gracie Baja.
Yeah.
Nothing against that. It's just me personally. At the time, it would have been very difficult with the restrictions and everything. As you can imagine in Colchester, if I had to make mandatory gis and stuff like that, it would just be very. I know it would have been difficult for me.
Yeah.
So when I saw he left, I said, okay, that's it. I got to come back to my old coach, and that's it, man. There was only 2 teams in my life, and yeah, I'm back to my old team, and I'm really happy about it.
Definitely, definitely. And then we mentioned obviously the kind of bond that you guys have. I mean, obviously you've been with Z since the start, obviously setting up ZR. Max Carvalho, as I said,
Yeah,
has obviously been there.
quick, Stuart, Max Carvalho's mom, she was my science teacher in school.
Right, right,
So
okay.
we know each other from childhood, from the whole time there. You know, we're from the same neighborhood. You know?
Yeah, yeah. So it made sense, obviously, you guys all coming together at that point. And on, and as we said, ZR, I mean, it's taken off. As I said, you mentioned obviously potentially one of the top 5 teams in Europe. Obviously, top team in Brazil where they train at. And then, so what about you mentioned obviously America? So you're not currently don't do you have a presence in America at all for the ZR team?
There is a few gyms teams there. There's one in Carolina, North or South Carolina. I'm not sure which one of the Carolinas, but there is one now that started with Diego Ramalho, is a really good black belt, like
Mm-hmm.
like elite black belt, and he started there now. And he started and he took a gym now. He took over a gym. He used to be a guy that I fought in Rome before. You know, like such a small world. You know,
Yeah.
and there is one there. There is in California 2 or 3 gyms. I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's it, you know, pretty much. And then maybe there's a few little others ones, some there, but compared to Gracie Bahachek, Matt,
Yeah.
the other big teams there, American Top Team, all the other ones, etc., is
Mm-hmm.
minimal in America, very very small. Yeah.
Yeah. And is that something that you guys are hoping to build on in regards to America? Are you hoping to build on what you have at the moment or just kind of take it as it comes?
Yeah, we don't want to. I don't know. Me personally, this is me. I have no interest in America. I love the America. Actually, I do like very much USA. I live there. You know, I have American friends, great American friends as well. I really like it. I would not live there ever again. I would
Mhm.
move to Ireland though,
Yeah.
instead of
Yeah.
if I had to leave the UK. Let's say I had to leave for some reason, England. I'll move to Ireland.
Yeah.
But the USA is done for me in terms of living. You know,
Yeah.
I find it hard to live there compared to here.
Yeah.
Um, but so I don't really have any interest in going to America. And the other thing is, I don't know how big really I want us to be. You know, like what we don't need to. If it grows organically, fantastic.
Mhm.
But to be trying to force into getting bigger, I don't know if that really is going to work for us. You know.
Yeah.
So at the moment, we just think that that's fine for us, and if we grow organically. And if not, I'd rather have us to be like a smaller powerhouse. You know,
Yeah.
that mean that when you go to a comp, it's like strong, tough
Yeah.
guys that are technically good, and so that's what I prefer. You know, like to be like a good small group of people that are strong. But if it grows organically only.
Yeah, definitely. And then Katie again coming in, Green Storm, hashtag Green
Yeah,
Storm. Um,
yeah,
so I always love it. I mean, I always love going to competitions and seeing ZR team represented because as I say, the green, especially that green patch, very colourful. You can
yeah.
see it. So it's always great to see. Always great to see. And as I say, you guys, certainly yourself, Ziradiola and Max, obviously leading by example. And yeah, as I said, your students are going out there and doing some fantastic things. One of my good friends, in fact, a black belt, Lee Kirtley. So one of my good friends. So he was
Yeah, is he your
previously,
friend? I did not know that, mate.
yeah, he was previously Marcus
Yeah,
Nardini, and then
yeah.
obviously it made sense. He just changed over at the time. It made sense to obviously move over to the ZR team, and we obviously wished him well. As I say, he was going from obviously Marcos to another fantastic team in the ZR. Yeah, good friend of mine. Good friend of mine. I've had the
Fantastic,
privilege.
fantastic guy. He
Yeah,
is. He's someone we've been in this thing going on right now with this crazy world right now going this year 2020. We've been together a lot, you know, like talking a lot and giving ideas to each other, and you know, trying to see how everything can be supported. I have no words for this guy, man. He's not very northern guy, you know. The sense of
Dave.
humor, I love that guy, man. I got a lot of time for this guy. Tough,
Yeah,
very tough jiu-jitsu as well,
yes.
you know. Very knowledgeable, very good coach, and he's a natural leader. You know,
Yeah,
he leads. he's he has the right attributes.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we saw that. I mean, he used to come up to Glasgow, train a few times in Glasgow, and
Mm.
used to bring a lot of his team up. The team would come up, and you would always get good roles, good solid roles with Lee or anybody else that comes in his team as well. So, yeah, Lee, fantastic guy, and as I said, obviously he's under you, so obviously his jiu-jitsu is only going to get better. So definitely looking forward to seeing what more Lee can do in the future under ZR team. So Katie as well. Katie's coming back in. Stoomboy, this is your best guest so far.
Katie,
So
come training.
now, what about you then for the future for you? Because as I said, you black belt 7 years. You obviously did competitions as well as a European champion, brown belt, black belt.
Yeah, but that was masters, yeah.
Masters, this is still European champion. We're old guys now, Alan. So we're the old men. So so obviously doing that. So what's your vision for the future for you yourself?
There's a few academies now that are gonna be thriving now. I have a feeling from our team that are gonna be the next big thing. There's a new era now, a new chapter in the book in 2020, I think, and these academies are gonna be what people in the area have been waiting a long time for. There's one in Finsbury Park at the minute being built in London, North London, Colchester and Chelmsford, and pretty much everywhere. So the team is, despite all the trouble in 2020, we're rebuilding ourselves, and we're gonna get ready for the next chapter without COVID. We're gonna do it, and everybody that is with us, with our team, surrounded by us, we've been very positive about everything, and we believe that this is going to be over. It has to be over, and we have to carry on with our lives. And people, jiu-jitsu is something that's so important for our community.
Yeah.
In Colchester, you have no idea how many, what the difference that we made in so many people's lives. The sport of jiu-jitsu, it's not just going to a football game of 5-5 and leaving and that's it. Bye guys, take care. It's like it creates a community of people, like families are friends with other families. Their kids, they go to parties together. It's just such a really good community, and we cannot let these things get destroyed.
Yeah, definitely. And then one other question as well, Katie. Who's your favourite blue belt at Fight City?
Katie Hunter.
So Katie, you're the favourite blue belt. And then one thing as well, I mean, you mentioned a couple of people, Tommy Yip. I mean, you mentioned Tommy. Again, another friend of mine through competition. I've met Tommy a few times through different competitions.
Yeah.
So we always chat together whenever we see each other at competitions. So really nice guy. So who's some of the people coming from your gym that people need to look out for in the future?
Man, let me start with let me see, Colchester. There's a girl in Colchester called Lois Marsh, and I think, man, look, she can be the next. If she continues, everybody that knows her and is listening to this, they know that she's gonna be the next big thing, either MMA or jiu-jitsu or grappling, whatever it is that she decides to do. She's 14 now, and she's the next thing. There's Taylor Pierman, Yanis, Tommy Yip, Mateusz Flaga, Polish kid. There is Romão Carvalho. We got so many good guys. Really, we have about Louis Coraza. We got so many guys that are ready to go now to any tournament, any in the world. Being competitive with the guys from Atos, the guys from Cesar Costa, anyone that you can imagine. We are even in competition now, and it was proven already in all the big tournaments.
Yeah.
So I think these guys, but then there's a new generation. There's a second generation of competitors now coming. That this is going to be a big focus for me on 2021. Is these 17, 18, 14-year-old kids who want to do this for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
That because there's a moment where you know that that's what they want to do. It's really hard for them just to quit like that. It happens, but
Yeah.
you know, there's a moment where you put yourself so much time into it, and all your friends are from, like, if you quit jiu-jitsu, you quit your friends, you quit your, everybody, everything is gone. So it's
Yeah.
really difficult. So there's a four or five kids now that is going to be, I think, coming in the blue belt scene, and in 2021, hopefully, when the tournaments resume.
Yeah, definitely. So obviously big things to come from ZR, certainly 2021 going forward. And then Alain, your gym's opening up again, potentially December time. So anybody that's maybe in the Colchester area or surrounding areas that wants to come along, where are you guys based?
Yeah, this gym is in Chelmsford. We were in a church hall in Chelmsford for many years, like 3.5 years, man. We were in a church hall.
Yeah.
And we build a community in the church hall, because a lot of the times this is the thing, so like some people just open a gym and then there's no members, and that's the problem. You got to start a gym without members.
Yeah.
So I think the best way is less risk. If you get mats, set up the mats, and build a community and a network there.
Yeah.
And once you build enough people, then you can move to a venue, which is what happened to us in Chelmsford.
Yeah. Yeah.
So after all these years, now we're ready to go, and we decided, and that's it. And we got the place, and we ordered the mats, the flooring, the reception flooring is done now, and so it's happening. And it's in Chelmsford, and it's gonna be a gym that is a gym that is needed in that area in Chelmsford.
Yeah.
You need a gym like that in Chelmsford. Good quality jiu-jitsu mats, a place where you walk into a gym is vibrant. It's like you feel good about yourself.
Yeah.
With all the shit happening in the world, it's a place where you walk in and you feel welcome and good.
Definitely. Definitely. So it's obviously going to be based in Chelmsford. And whereabout in Chelmsford is that going to be based, Alain?
You caught me now. Anybody that needs directions or anything about this gym in Chelmsford, text me. I am awful with remembering the address. The only address that I know of is from my house. I tell you, Stuart, I'm retarded. So, so text guys. Just get your phones. Facebook, Instagram, ZR Team UK is at ZR Team UK. That's my Instagram. Just go ahead and send me a text. Say, hey, Alan, where's the address? Anything, and boom. And more than welcome to come down.
Definitely, definitely. And then one last thing for you then, anybody you want to thank. So obviously it's been a long journey for you to where we are now. It's going to be even longer. It's going to go on for a long time further. But anybody you want to kind of thank as you went through your journey?
Listen, man, everybody it's too many people, really. I don't want to say one name because it's unfair on the other person, but it's too many people that have been together during this craziness on 2020 since day one. And you know who you are. Man, we're together in this. This is the real. When the government had this, we are in this together. I think they stopped that now.
Yeah.
Actually, we are in this together. Actually, the whole jiu-jitsu community right now should be saying we're in this together. I know that in certain places in the UK, emotions are not very good. But I think we need to soften up a little bit and really get everybody together and try to be more friendly with each other, and saying, because we went through a lot. So
yeah,
I think anybody that is listening, and guys, look, you want to discuss anything, you want to hear some ideas or anything, well, just text me and I'm there.
Yeah, definitely. And do you think something with everything that's went on, obviously do you think it's going to bring everybody closer? Because me personally, I mean, I feel it will. So, but what's your opinion on that?
At least the people that I see now in jiu-jitsu, the students that were some already were very close to me, but like some now we're very much closer now, like very much tighter community. And I think because we went through hard times, they bring a lot of people together, and we definitely got like closer to a lot of people now.
Definitely. Brilliant. Well, Alain, listen, thank you very much. I mean, it's been an absolute pleasure. As I said, I've definitely been, you're definitely one of the guys I've been watching for a number of years now. So, and I'm just glad to see that. Obviously, with the ZR team, you guys are going to get even bigger than what you are at the moment. So, but listen, it's been an absolute pleasure. And yeah, listen, I'm going to get down once all this craziness is over. I'm going to try and get down to Chelmsford.
I'm down.
come down,
1,000,000%.
yeah, listen, get a few training sessions with you. I'll let Katie, obviously get a few roles with Katie as well.
Yeah.
So we'll see who the best MMA UK news person is.
Awesome.
Well, listen,
Perfect.
it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you again, Alain.
Pleasure is mine.
And you enjoy the rest of your day. Okay.
Cheers, buddy. Take care. Bye.
Take care then.